record on this computer. Okay, Mother Sunday, I've got the recording covered here at this end. But let's offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada before we begin. Nama Om Vishnu Pataya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivasisha Sunyavadi Pushtatara Satadine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So we have 8 devotees with us so far. Let's so welcome Mother Saïjaya, Mother Rajkishore, Anupama, Mother Kaya, Gopikita, Mother Jambavati, Mother Lavanga, Latika. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So let's share the screen. I'll share the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I presume you can see that. And we left a bit of a cliffhanger yesterday. A verse which has quite a long purport, a very nice purport. A nice verse to learn. It's the point where Arjuna admits complete and utter defeat, and he turns to Krishna. Yeah. So, Mother Saïjaya, you have your hand up there. You can begin this evening's.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Arpanya doshapahata svabhava prachamitam tvam dharma samuddacheta yasreyasyam nishchitam bruhitan me sishyasteham sadimam tvam prapannam. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me.
Panda means surrender. Let's just find the Upannam, surrender. Now I'm Tvam, I'm surrender unto you. Aham Sadi Mam Tvam Aham Upannam. Very important point in our Krishna consciousness is surrender. So here Arjuna is surrendering. Okay, you can continue.
Yeah. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is a perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life, which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our own wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom, therefore, advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad 3.8.10, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yova yetad aksharam gargi avitvasmal lokat pratita sa krapana. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Ya yetad aksharam gargi vivida vasma lokat praiti saja Brahmana. The Karpanas or miserly persons waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members, on the basis of skin disease. The Karpanya thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Karpana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals, who can take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could not understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge his duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself, and yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without, and one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think the next purport is quite substantial as well. Any questions here on this? There's a few subjects here. Especially sometimes it might sound quite, I don't know how to explain it, it might sound quite hard, or in a sense, any attachment, if one is attached to family life, and I guess it's only natural that a mother's going to be attached to her children, and the children are going to be attached to the parents. Otherwise, we could say, where is their family life if there's not attachment? And Prabhupada calls it skin disease. Skin disease. So how can we explain that? What is it, you know, if someone, you know, how can we, what's the way of explaining that? Is this okay, what Prabhupada's saying here, or is there some other type of explanation we can give? So, or is it as it is? Yes, go
on. The way I understand skin disease is it's like extended self-love, because the children, they look exactly like you, well, in most cases. So since we love ourselves and our body, we extend that love to the children because we see them as extension of ourselves. That's how I understand.
Yeah, that's very nice kind of very nice description of the word. Yeah, I'm just kind of highlighting, do you accept, Mother Guide, that you have a disease?
Absolutely. They drag me down. I can tell you for certain. I wish I could renounce, but I cannot.
Okay, so I guess most others who are in the family are the same to one degree or another. Yeah, I guess we're all diseased, and to that degree, we identify with our place of birth, with our family, etc. But I think
we have duties we can't avoid. You know,
yeah, that's
we have
another
to
point as
perform
well.
them.
Yeah, we have our duties. Yeah, we cannot just, for instance, just accepting this knowledge and, okay, we read this skin disease, so I should cut it off tomorrow. I should leave my family, my children. No, then one will be, then there will be reactions for that. For like Arjuna wants to renounce his responsibility, and if he does, there'll be reactions. But I think the balancing point here is that if one is in the illusion that the circle of family life is going to save one from death, or going to save one from the miseries of material existence, one is in illusion. Yeah? As the Prabhupada says here, he could kripana. Kripana, that's known as a miserly person. Is that verse the word used in the verse? Let me look. Kapanidos. No, it's not there. But Prabhupada uses it elsewhere. So kripana.
Yeah, it is there, Murli Prabhu.
Oh, it's in the verse, yeah? Kapanya dosa.
Purport.
Oh, the purple, yeah, that's what I'm. So, Kripana person thinks that he's able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Yeah, then the Prabhupada explains it can be found even in animals. So, in another place in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 8 to 12, Krishna speaks about what is knowledge and what is ignorance. And he speaks what is knowledge, and he explains the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, and attachment to family members. But Prabhupada in the purple says that it doesn't mean one shouldn't have affection and love for one's family members. That's only natural. But if one is thinking that they're going to save me from death, then that means one is that is furthering the disease. Yeah, just want to bring that out. So in other words, if someone knows that ultimately we're all under the grip of the laws of material nature, okay, I'm going to try and protect my children to the best of my ability. I'm going to show them affection and love. But actually, they are actually, without Krishna's protection, without Krishna's sanction and protection, I cannot save my children, and vice versa. We are all under the grip of the laws of material nature. Any questions on that? I just... And referring... Yes, please.
Sorry, Prabhu, just, page 82, there's the sentence says, a person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. Can you expand on that, please, for me?
Oh, yeah, I think we mentioned that. We did. I mentioned that, speak that yesterday. Someone who knows everything, or was it another somewhere of a conversation? Well, yeah, basically, it doesn't mean literally what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean if you have a spiritual master, then you should know how many windows in the Empire State Building, for example. It doesn't mean that. It means because a spiritual master is giving you knowledge about Krishna.
That's right.
So therefore, knowledge about Krishna, that's some bandha gyan. Yeah, an aspect of that is sambandha gyan. So it means we know our position in relationship to the material energy.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing from the Guru teaches us about our relationship in relation to Krishna through the material energy.
Yes.
As parts and parcels. So that, in essence, is everything.
Yes.
To actually know that means to however you say know that, but to go further and to realize that means you know the whole purpose of the material existence. Like you know why this material world exists. You know what is your mission.
Yes.
You are not confused. You are clear of where you want to go, of where we have come from, etc. So in that sense, a devotee knows everything. Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we know everything. Now, there's an interesting addition that is given here by Baladev Vijayabhushana, who also did a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, most of our acharyas did. And they're quite widely available, actually. They've been translated, most of them. But Baladev Vijayabhushana brings up this conversation. He mentions when Krishna, when Arjuna says, "I am perplexed, confused, and I want to surrender unto you," Krishna replies as follows: "You know Shastra. Why not use your own logic and reasoning?" And then Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna replies, because Baladev Vijayabhusana was a contemporary of Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Yeah. So Vishnu replies, "I'm your friend. I'm not in the mood of being your guru. So how can I accept you as my disciple? Because you have a respectful attitude towards Vyasadeva and others, why not go to them?" Krishna's initial response thus tests Arjuna's determination. And Arjuna further expresses his desire to surrender to Krishna in the next verse. Now, I found that interesting because at some point, I have to relearn these verses, but I learned the verses from the second chapter, but I have to kind of go back on them and go over them again. I remember when I was learning this 8th verse, Arjuna backsteps because he surrendered to Krishna in text 7. And text 8, he says, "I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses." So again, he's imploring, his difficult situation. So Arjuna's replying seems to Krishna's further testing him and testing his determination. So he says, "I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drowning out all my senses. I'm not to be able to dispel it, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on earth with songs like demigods in heaven." So I thought that was interesting, how Krishna tests Arjuna's determination. Yeah, and as Krishna tests Arjuna's determination, he also tests our determination. Yeah, he wants to see how determined we are to go back to the spiritual world. Yeah, and let's just look here as well. I think this is. I thought this is a really nice example that you can often explain to people when giving them explaining about Krishna consciousness, but it's a fact. Just this, but I'm highlighting here. The perplexities of life happen without our desire. Yeah. Generally, material life is planning. Basically, every day, isn't it? We plan to be free of stress. Every day we have a wonderful plan to be free of anxiety, be free of distress. Yeah, it's quite subtle. Even if you're getting on a tube, you want to stand or sit in a seat where you're going to get less distress. It's just nature. But then, okay, you sit on a nice seat on the tube. You got a tube, but then the tube breaks down for 20 minutes, doesn't move. That's the way of the world. Yeah. Like one time when we was traveling Europe recently, we somehow or another, by accident, actually, we got some first class tickets, on one train. So we thought it was well set, it was well chuffed. We got first class tickets. But the first class tickets came with a catch, that they didn't have seat numbers on. So you had to just try your luck, go in a first class carriage and just sit down in an empty seat. So me and Shinga, we found this little compartment. We could close the door. We could, we got our computers out, got ready, made ourselves comfortable. Trying to find, be comfortable in this world. And then about 10 after the next stop, this whole gang of old age pensioners came with tickets for the seats that we were sitting in, and they demanded that we move. Of course we did. So then we had to stand up for the rest of the journey. But just highlighting how this is, the material world. we try our best. And them was kind of innocent examples, but actually the trials in life can be a bit more arduous than that, actually, as we all know. You know, family members can get disease, etc., losing jobs, or relationships breaking down. Okay, so these happen, yeah, just like a forest fire. It doesn't seem to be lit by anyone, but it just manifests by the friction of the wind. Yeah. So we are supposed to solve these problems and perplexities. Yeah. And this is what Arjuna is approaching Krishna for. Yeah. So we should approach a spiritual master. Yeah. Who's here again is supposed to know everything. So this part is significant. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a bona fide spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Yeah. Then he goes on to explain who is the man in material perplexities. Yeah. One who is miserly man who does not solve the problems of life, and who quits this world like cats and dogs. Yeah. Any questions on that? Otherwise we can go on to the next verse.
No, that's fine, Prabhu. That's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to text 8. Who's Raj Kishore? You can read text 8.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyat yachokam uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumava asapanna riddham rajyam suranam apichadipatyam. Translation. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on the earth, with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on the knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master. Oh, Lord Sri Krishna, he could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence. And it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is master of the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiba vipra kiba nyasi sudra kene naya ye Krishna tattva veta sai guru haya. It does not matter whether a person is a vipra, learned scholar in the Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is a perfect and bona fide spiritual master. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8:1-8. So without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in Vedic literature, Satakarma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharada avaishnavo gurur nasyad vaishnava swa pako guru. A scholarly Brahman, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious, Padma Purana. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death, cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed, yet the problems of the material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna. Through a bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's limitations for family, social, national, or international inebrities, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom of earth or supremacy like that of demigods in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away his lamentations. He sought, therefore, refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is the right path for spiritual and for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysm of material nature. Even elevation into the higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking on the moon planet, can also be finished in one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punya martya loka vishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentations. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna, as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem, definitely. And that is the way of Krishna consciousness. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, actually, this was the purple I had in mind. It wasn't the last one, it was this purple. This purple, I often like to, if I'm giving a Sunday priest lecture, I would often give on this verse in purple. Specifically, I find it very insightful. Prabhupada is making quite an amazing statement here, which I think we have to we have first-hand experience. Because relatively speaking, we in Europe at least, and in Australasia, America, we could say that is quite economically developed. And compared to other places, there is wealth compared to some. Someone shared with me this video of someone from Cuba or someone who was shown for the first time a supermarket in America where the shelves are full of food. He could not believe, he'd never seen so much food in one place in his life before, and he was in his 40s. But I'm just saying, I'm just drawing a picture, just reminding us of where we are situated as in compared to some places in the world. But it's full as he described it. Does it mean one is going to be free of stress and anxiety? No, it doesn't. Somehow or another, materialistic persons, leaders, think that by economic development, we can solve all the problems of material existence. Yeah, but it doesn't. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. Just like, for instance, in America, when so just reflecting on my own experience, when I was young, we used to watch this. When I was young, we used to watch this program. It used to begin with "La la 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 America," and it showed all the, the enjoyments in America, the surfing and the skateboarding, and it was kind of portrayed as the perfect place, you know, especially us youngsters, you know, it's the place where you dream of being brought up. It was kind of presented the glamour of America and the wealth of America, you know. But actually, what's going on in America actually is a lot different when we think of the drug addiction, etc. And in America presently, there's a chronic problem with homelessness. These are professional people, to one degree or another, who can't afford the rent to live in a home. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people living in cars, you know, living on the sides of roads, because they can't afford to pay the rent, even though they got full-time work. They can't afford to pay the rent that's being asked. You know, it goes on. And also there's places in America, there's one place called Kensington, some state in America, where it's these drug addicts like zombies are just lying around the road. I mean, hundreds of them on every street corner doing drugs and just kind of like zombies, basically. They're taking a specific type of drug which causes them to kind of, anyway, I won't describe in too much detail. Someone was sharing with me recently, and a so-called modern economic developed place which is completely full of confusion. And this is supposed to be, America's supposed to be the most affluent country at presently just about in the world. But any comments or questions on this? I'm sure we all can understand this. We can see it quite frankly and quite blatantly. You know, for instance, where I stay, in the ashram where I stay, it's surrounded by hospitals, cancer hospitals. You know, so there's all people coming for their dreaded cancer test to get their dreaded chemo thing. You know, as people in wheelchairs coming in and out, and yeah, you see people, you know, in really dire states, you know, and people coming outside of the hospital, you know, they so desperate to smoke, even though they're in the hospital, they wheel their wheelchair outside the hospital with a drip hanging up, and they sit smoking outside. Anyway, it's just a disease, basic old age and disease everywhere.
Yeah. I was thinking actually the other day that America, when I was young, you know, maybe 7 or 8, all the things that came from America, everything was great in America. It was the American dream, and everybody was becoming very wealthy, and there was no, you know, there wasn't that much crime. I mean, but, you know, within a short space of time, it's gone from like really thriving to like so degraded in like less than 50 years.
Yeah. So
it's
things
completely changed.
Yeah, things. So once they start to, once things start to go downwards, start to spiral downwards, they spiral very quickly. Yeah. Society caves in very quickly, especially when it comes to principles of virtue, on morals. So that's what's happening. I mean, no doubt there was crime in America going back hundreds of years, that's for sure. But now it's kind of so widespread. It's like a cancer. It's so widespread.
Yeah, mass shootings all the time. People are going crazy with
mass
guns.
shooting. No doubt there are clusters of God-fearing people who live in, you know, they have a sattvic life, but actually more and more it's becoming, sometimes you hear these documentaries of America where there's this affluent town, and most of the children are addicted to heroin. And they all come from affluent parents. Anyway, we get the point. Yeah, without going any further before we get too depressed. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, and disease and death cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. We should, you see this sentence here, we should make a poster of just this sentence and plaster it everywhere. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. And Prabhupada goes on to explain it as we just read. So how can they be counteracted? It's a question.
By self-realization.
Yeah, but how would that counteract the problems of material existence? Now, people are still going to grow old, still going to get diseased.
Well, they
Yeah,
were,
but you realize that it's temporary.
Yeah, that's it. They realize it temporary, have a sense of they will realize it temporary, but over and above that, taken on a grander scale, if the leaders of society lead society according to God-conscious, Krishna-conscious principles, then the whole society will flourish in a very auspicious way. So there will be less disease. I can't say there'll be less death. That's part of the deal in being in a material world. Old age as well. It won't be so decrepit or decrepit. Yeah. I'm just reflecting on when we read about God-conscious leaders like Maj Yudhisthira, is a verse we often quote, where when he was the emperor of the earth, then there wasn't any disease. All the rain gave, the clouds poured just the amount of rain that was needed. The earth gave jewels and abundance, etc. There was everything that needed for people to live comfortably. So that's so over and above, yeah. We have to, even if we take up Krishna consciousness, we're still going to have to deal with disease and things like that. But over and above, if the leaders do, then the face of the world will change. But it looks like we might have a long way to go for that to happen. Looks like probably it's going to have to get worse before it gets better, I think. Still, we're trying our best, and we are distributing books as many as possible to give people a chance. But anyway, any other comments on this?
as Srila Prabhupada said, we have to re-spiritualize the society and bring back the older culture. The culture, if we see United Kingdom, the culture is dying out. Even the Christian culture is dying out. So we have to bring that one back or re-spiritualize.
We have the new PM, the new Prime Minister, his daughter is called Krsna, so he must be saying Krishna all the time. He's saying the holy name.
Yeah, there's some light there. There's some glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Into the temple. He went to the temple on the New Year day. Bhaktivedanta Manor, and he did worship the cow as well.
Yeah, so he comes from a Hindu background.
Yes.
Comes from Hindu side. But that's the only hope. And this is what we're here for. This is what Prabhupada came for. This is why we're distributing books. This is why, we're trying our best to act in a Krishna conscious way. And also whatever opportunity we get is to spread Krishna consciousness. Yeah. It's going down to the dogs, as they say. Society is spiraling down quick. And it's so interesting, Prabhupada wrote this, what year did he write Bhagavad Gita commentary? I think in 1969, 1967, something like that. But this is very much, it seems to be even more relevant to us today, isn't it? The world is not becoming an easier or better place to live. Anyway, so let's read on and how we can learn to live in this world in the best way we can in the Krishna conscious way. All right. Mavula Vangalatika, you like to read text 9?
Yeah. Text 9. Sanjay uvacha evam uktva Shri Kesham Gudakesha Parantapa Nayotsya iti Govindam uktva tusnempa uvaha. Sanjay said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of the enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Purport. It's
Sorry,
disappeared.
something happened. Okay.
Yeah. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight, and it was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. But Saïjaya disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies, Parantapa, although Arjuna was, for the time being, overwhelmed with false. Next page.
Cool.
With false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from the false lamentation resulting from family affection, and would soon be enlightened. And would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness, and would then surely fight. Thus, Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated, since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, disappeared again. Yeah, so Dhritarashtra is going to be disappointed. Yeah, the first he was probably felt encouraged because he heard from Sanjay. Don't forget, it's Sanjay speaking. He said here, yeah, Sanjay said, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Yeah. And just something here from Baladeva Vijayabhushana. He explains so here's what verse this is text. Am I got the right verse from text 9, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, Rishikesham, even for Rishikesham. So Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Rishikesha. So this indicates, according to Baladeva Vijayabhushana, because what does Rishikesha mean?
Controller of the senses.
Yeah. So Krishna is the controller of our senses. So if we meditated upon Krishna, Savayamana Krishna Pada Hindayo, the mind is the king of the senses, then all of the other subjects, namely the other subjects, the senses, on which the king resides over, that they will all come under control. Yeah, so Arjuna is calling Krishna Rishikesha because he's saying, because you are the master of my senses. Yeah. And you're going to draw my intelligence into involvement with the fighting. Because you are the knower of the Veda, you're going to make me understand that this fight is my personal dharma. So it seems like Arjuna's got some idea. Yeah. He has some idea of what he should do, but he can't bring himself to do it because of the various doubts. You know? Yeah. And any questions on this or comments?
Krishna's got 3 names here. It contains 3 names of Krishna.
Yeah, you're right. Let's just
Rishikesha,
Govinda and Rishikesha, Govinda and
yeah, no, I can't.
Gudakesha.
The third one, Gudakesh, but Gudakesh applies to Arjun. So sorry.
yeah. So it's Krishna. Govinda. Hey, Govinda. So Govinda, you could say Govinda means what's the context of Govinda being used here?
Someone who controls the senses.
Well, that's
The
Rishikesh.
cows
Govinda, the giver of pleasure to the senses.
and cows.
Yeah. Govinda, yeah. Yeah, so just here, this indicates that he will soon be free from false lamentation resulting from family affection, will be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness, and would then surely fight. Thus Dhritarashtra is going to be mighty disappointed. He thinks it's all going to end here now. Arjuna's going to, turn away from the battlefield. That's it. It's all done. But it ain't going to be like that. Far from it. Yeah, all his sons are going to be killed. Wow, that is very wrong. But let's. Anybody else? Someone else like to read text 10? Perhaps a call on if it's possible. Some Anupama, you'd like to read if you haven't already? I don't think you have. Text 10.
Okay, Prabhu. Yes, I can read.
Thank you.
Text 10. Tvam uvacha hirishke isha parashanam iva bharata sanyo ubharate madhya vishandam idam vacha. O descendant of Bharata, at the time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the gold-stricken Arjuna. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Hirisheka and Gudakesha. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone, and yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them.
Thank you. So the word for smiling here is maharshan. Yeah. Because basically he's smiling because his friend, as Prabhupada mentions here, has become his disciple. But then Krishna's expression will change from smiling to more serious. It becomes more described as a grave expression. Yeah. I'll just read from here. He will now act as Arjuna's spiritual master, and talks between the spiritual master and disciple are serious. Therefore, Krishna smiles as his friendly affection gives way to parental affection, which is similar to relationship between guru and disciple. Assuming the role of the guru, Krishna became grave because he was teaching not only Arjuna, but all humanity. And then Prabhupada says, it appears that the talk between the master and disciple were openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. In other words, Bhagavad Gita is not intended for any particular person, society, community. It's meant for everyone. So this is quite significant here, because this is just before Krishna left the planet, because once he left, then Kali Yuga came in. So Krishna, the whole of the battle of Kurukshetra and all the politics that went behind it, you could say more or less is to come to this point of focus on the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. And the Bhagavad Gita plus Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, Krishna's Bhagavad Bhagavate. Bhagavad Gita is going to be light for those who are going to be still left around swimming in the mud of Kali Yuga, and that's us. Yeah. So what to make of this world, what to make of the sufferings in this world. Well, Bhagavad Gita has the answers. Yeah. Bhagavad Gita gives the instructions. Bhagavad Gita gives us the means where we can elevate our consciousness, and not be subjected to the miseries of this Kali Yuga. So this way, for Krishna, it's quite a significant point. Okay, this is the time when I can speak Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is in the right mood now to receive Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, so now Krishna's going to start explaining more. Yeah, any comments or questions on this? Okay, let's read text 11. Who's there with us? Saïjaya, can you hear us?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes, I can hear you.
Hare Krishna, good to have you with us again. Would you like to read the next text, text 11?
Yes,
It's
sure,
quite
Prabhuji.
significant. Yeah.
Yep. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asochan Anvasocha Tvam Prajnavadamscha Bhasase Gata Sun Agata Sumcha Nanu Sochanti Panditaha. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Purport. The Lord at once took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. As explained in the later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit, and the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and supreme is even more important than religious formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished, today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him, there is no cause of lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. So this is one of the basic principles of a Vedic society, which everyone is culturally born into, which is the knowledge between the knowledge of the difference between spirit and matter. It's so much accepted that it's not, well, in a true Vedic society, it's considered an axiomatic truth that the soul survives the body. Yeah. Of course, there were some philosophers. Was it one philosopher who what's that philosopher who Prabhupada would sometimes quote him as saying, life means whatever happens, you should just get ghee. No one can name that philosopher. Because if you get ghee, you can cook nice foodstuffs and you can enjoy it. Because death, then everything is finished. So even there were some philosophers, but generally for the whole, everyone was understanding the principles of Atma Tattva. So here's Arjuna, could use the word, say, spouting all types of wise words according to Dharma Sastra, and is it Dharma Sastra, also Rajniti, yeah, kings and maintaining the kingdom, etc. But it seems like he hasn't understood the basics. Yeah, the basics. Here he's lamenting for, where he's lamenting for the passing of people dying. But actually, as we will hear and as we know, there is no death for the soul. So that's why this is Krishna's second chastisement to Arjuna. The first one we read yesterday, that he called him being impotent and more or less a eunuch for not doing his duty. Yeah. And as a Kshatriya, that's quite an insult. So now he's speaking, I think Prabhupada often refers to this, he's calling Arjuna foolish. So, yeah, he is calling Arjuna a fool. Although Arjuna's words are true, according to Dharma, Sastra, and Rajaniti, they do not take in consideration the basic difference between spirit and matter. Yeah, so this is Krishna's first instruction. And now he's going to go on giving instructions about the soul, which are very nice verses coming up. Yeah. Any comments or questions on this? Yeah. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something that was not worthy of lamentation. We probably do a lot of that ourselves. We probably lament for a lot of things that are not worth lamenting about. Why? Because of lack of spiritual knowledge, lack of spiritual realization. That's why the nature of someone who has spiritual knowledge is that they're generally joyful. Yeah? Because they have spiritual knowledge, then generally they're not subject to lamentation. Yeah. Now it's just perhaps we'll just pause here for today, and next week hopefully we should be okay. Let's see how it goes. Next Tuesday we can begin here on Krishna's teachings about the soul. Begins here in text 12. Very interesting arguments Prabhupada gives in the purpose to help us to understand ourselves and also to help us to explain to others as well. This is a very important part of the Bhagavad Gita. So unless there's any last comments or questions, we can stop there for today. Okay, thank you for joining us, everyone. We have 10 devotees with us in the end. Thank you for joining us. And tomorrow, Thursday, I should be okay. I will still be here in Manchester. So Krishna willing, we can read once more. We had Bhagavatamrita. So we could pick that up. It'll be very exciting. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Prabhupada.
see you
Thank you so
tomorrow.
much.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
I just want to ask you, can you hear me?
Yes, just
Sorry,
in time.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask about the 26th of November. I want to know who is coming. How possible to if you're coming?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I will confirm that with you. Let me confirm that with you today. I'm just going to look at my
Thank you so
calendar
much.
and I'll
Thank you
get
so
back
much,
to you.
Prabhu.
No problem.
Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
much. Thank you. Very big.
Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
you.
Hare
Hare Krishna, all the Vaishnavis. Hari Bol.
Vaishnavyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.